402, don't sit down, Martin. 328 to 402, I call this meeting to order, please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I see, even though his
Washington
website
is way
is
below our-
out of the town, he's again not here, right?
But they paid for the meter.
Yeah, the people have paid for install, but never tied to the meter.
Okay. Any other questions for him? Thanks, Tim. Thank you. Okay, under new business, we have, we have Banner Bank credit card signers. I swear we did this before, but they're saying we don't have any authorized signers for our Banner credit card. Actually, the two people are on it are Kathy Benson and Julie McKinney. So we need to remove them if everybody's in agreement. And then we need to give the bank some names of who can be authorized to manage the credit card if we need to change names or take names off or, manage if there's any issues with the credit card. We can go to the bank and get things straightened out.
Or do they want council members or do they want like employees and actually handle the payroll?
Well, I think it's up to us. They don't care. They just want in the minutes who we assign to be responsible to call if there's issues with the credit cards. That we have to, then I'll take the minutes down and it shows who and it was approved. I guess the first thing is there a motion to remove Kathy Benson and
So moved.
Second.
all in favor? Okay, yes, so Kathy Benson and Julie McKinney will be removed. And who do you want to get access to call if we have issues about the credit card or we need to manage it?
So who's the check signers, you and Charlie?
Yeah, we're the check signers.
And Rob.
Rob. Yeah, if one of us is not available and we have an issue with the credit card, do we want them to be, Renee to be call and ask questions or get information from them? Or do you want to just leave it to counselors?
I think Rob should be on
Okay.
it.
Martin, any suggestions?
Is there a limit on the numbers?
They didn't say no. They just said names of individuals. They just want names, to.
Well, why don't we have the three of you?
You don't want to be on?
Nope. I'd get drunk with power and start spending money.
Okay, is that okay with you guys or what?
What do you think, Martin? Should we put Rob up on it too? Assuming he's the accountant.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that we learned is Banner Bank, the credit card situation is a whole different entity. It's not part of the bank. That's what we learned. That's how come, like I'm a signer and stuff, and when I went in and asked this question, they said, well, you're authorized. And I said, okay, so we did this and we found out that, no, I'm not authorized.
Well, then I move we have the three of you and Rob.
Okay, that would be Linda Wise, Charlie Briscoe, and Marcia Damaris and Rob Gaslin.
No second.
Okay, all in favor? All opposed?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I will go down and take care of that next week. On here, did you guys read the thing on the Measure 109 that I think Renee sent you the link?
Yeah.
Just for everybody, this is Measure 109 where the state of Oregon has authorized the use of psychedelic mushrooms. And the city municipals have the option to submit an ordinance to voters to prohibit the sale of the mushrooms in our city.
By reading that, though, that we need to find out, because if both goes on the ballot, it's a ballot measure.
Yeah, that's
whether
on the
we
ballot.
Make it forever and a day, or we just do a 2-year moratorium on whether or not we want psychedelic drugs and something.
Well, I would do it as,
Or are both gonna go on the ballot? That's what they're not saying, so it's either, both or just one or the other.
well, I guess the decision is what is the city feels the best, what we feel is the best for the city to let this come in or to,
Does this go on the ballot?
yes, it has to go on the ballot. It has to go on the ballot. That's what we have to put it on the ballot, either to prohibit the sale or impose a 2-year moratorium on the ballot for the voter, for the city to vote on.
I personally think we should not allow. There's enough people here whose heads are already screwed up. We don't need mushrooms.
Charlie, opinion?
I do too,
So,
but it's not up to us.
no, this is just what we're gonna put on the ballot.
Yeah.
And it's just that this is something we have to do timely. So we want to put on the ballot to prohibit the sale of psychedelic mushrooms.
But do you give the public the right to choose whether they want to have a 2-year moratorium?
Well, right now, we're just saying not at all.
They can always do an initiative to unwind that.
Okay, do I have a motion to put this on the ballot?
I'll move that.
I'll second.
That we are going to prohibit it
Permanent.
Okay.
That, I mean, that's what the question will be,
Oh,
I
yes.
guess, on the ballot.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, so we'll get that done.
Start having a mandatory drug test.
So, Dawn is here with us. Hi.
Do you want me to stand on?
Sure, come on up. To the hot spot.
I know,
Shouldn't be a hot spot.
I know, this should be the last time. I actually asked to be put on the agenda tonight because I felt like Mr. Wilson maybe left a bad taste in some of the citizens' mouth about the building department butting into his process and all this kind of stuff. So I just asked if these guys know the truth because we had communications via emails and things like that. But I just wanted an opportunity to assure the citizens of Sumter that the building department does no more want to be in your business than we want you to be in your business unless we legally should be. So we provided advice and counsel on Mr. Wilson's project, always with the caveat that he has submitted nothing to the building department for review, and we know nothing. We haven't been invited to his property. So this is our experience with like structures. We never said we knew 100% that Mr. Wilson, couldn't meet those codes. And so I just wanted to be clear that I wasn't out to get him in some way or whatever, because do you mind if I ramble for a second? Before I came to the building department, the building official before told me that it hadn't been very long before the building department wasn't welcome in Sumter. He had to get a sheriff to escort him into Sumter to do inspections that were required. And I find it amazing that in just that period of time since I've been there, that relationship has changed. And I think it's been an effort between the people that work for Sumter, both in volunteer and in the office, and the citizens. And while I know that you guys think that Sumter has a reputation for kind of being outlaws and not getting permits and things like that, honestly, I mean, there's some of that, but there's some of that all over the county. And you guys have incredible citizens. We get 1 million permits from this area. And I want to thank you guys for that, for building the relationship with us. And then the last thing, well, I just sort of wanted to explain that building codes were put in place in the state of Oregon in like the 70s. And they've evolved a little bit over time as they've learned how to protect people and the occupants of buildings and things like that. Building codes were put in place because people were no longer living on the farm that their ancestors lived on and things like that. They were selling it, they were moving around. And so all those modifications that they're making without anyone reviewing them all of those modifications weren't being inspected. And so when people came to buy a piece of property, there was no guarantee that it wasn't gonna burn down from an electrical fire, or, you know what I mean, or fall down, or the trusses weren't right, or something. It wasn't built for the right snow load in our area, right? And so the building codes have sort of evolved over time, but we're here for the safety of all citizens of the Baker County. I'm talking to Sumter, but Baker County. But the other thing that I think is unclear sometimes to people, and this is not just a Sumter misunderstanding, this is everywhere. All of the regulatory authorities like DEQ or planning or whatever, we're not all tied together, and nor do we have any authority over each other's business. So like if your planning authority gives them authorization to do something, and I say the building doesn't work, that's two different things, right? And so I just wanted to make clear that if DEQ is the bad guy, don't think that the building department's gonna be a bad guy too. Does that make sense? We wanna be your partner in your projects. So that being said, I also wanted to be clear that in the state of Oregon, there is no different building codes in Sumter or in Baker County. The state building codes are the exact same in the middle of downtown Portland as they are in our little precious Sumter. The building codes are exactly the same for everyone. Portland may put additional regulations on top of it, but we do not. The building codes are exactly what they are. We don't have any special things that our inspectors can require above and beyond the code. And so we're never gonna come out to your project and tell you, I don't really like it that way. I mean, it meets code, but you have to change it or else I'm not gonna pass it. Those days are gone. The Building Codes Division in Salem has quietly but consistently weeded out inspectors that would do that. They've either aged out, but they've also changed their rules and their obligations. And so their obligations are to the citizens of the state. And so they've taken out the people that were trying to do things above and beyond their authority. So just so you know, we're here to be your partner. I forget, you had a question.
What is Baker County stand on prefab?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Baker
We see
County.
a lot of.
Baker County stand on the prefabs is exactly the same as the rest of the state. However, we happen to have a unique quantity of them because of Old Hickory sheds being right in Baker City. So here's the thing. Again, remember that every project, there's kind of two courses to that. There's the land use, which is your planning or Baker County planning. And then there's the structure itself, which is building. So the land use, I think within the city limits always has to be approved, no matter the size of the structure, no matter what. If you're adding a structure to your lot within the city limits, you have to get a land use approval from the city. And the reason for that is because there's lots inside cities, and so the neighbors are closer together than maybe out in the county. And so the cities require that you get a land use approval for everything. So that being said, a structural permit is sometimes for a shed not required by the building department. And it's a little complicated, but if your shed on a lot is 200 square feet or less, not more than 15 feet tall to the peak of the roof, and less and used for light storage only, you don't need a building permit from my department in order to put up that shed, even if you order a prefab. If the building is over 200 square feet in the city limits of Sumter, that requires a building permit. It's not a full-blown building permit because obviously we don't have the opportunity to inspect it from the beginning because it's being done in the manufacturing plant. But we require to inspect that the hold downs are proper. So what we tell you is go get your plans from whatever manufacturer you're getting the prefab from, whether it's Old Hickory or West Coast Metal Buildings or Coast to Coast Metal Buildings or any of those guys. You ask them for either the plans or the installation instructions. that should tell us whether it was built for the right snow load and where the hold downs are required to be, because our wind loads can sometimes get crazy. And we need to assure that it's not gonna move onto your neighbors. That's it. So a minimum one-time permit is required for prefabs from us. And that usually, at this point, it's $71.03. But for the first time in 5 years, we're raising the price, so it's just under $75 after July 1st. So it's still in the same ballpark. Anything else?
No.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
If you have one under 200 square feet, under 50 feet, whatnot, if you put electrical and or plumbing into it, don't you need a permit for that?
You do need, so in the building world, there's 4 different types of permits. There's a structural permit, electrical, mechanical, which is like a wood stove or a furnace or an air conditioner, ducting, like vents out of your bathroom, dryer vents, hood vents, those are all mechanical, and plumbing. And if you do any of those sidebar things, you're allowed as a homeowner and a property owner, you can do the work yourself, but it's still supposed to be inspected by us. So even though you don't need a structural permit if it's 200 square feet or less, if you add electricity, water, or a wood stove, it does need a permit from us and an inspection.
And is there a distinction between commercial and
Yes.
residential? Or non-commercial?
Thank you. Yes, commercial, so if your property is being used for commercial, because I know you guys have that weird CR zone that we don't have in Baker City, so it's either commercial or it's residential. So, but if it's being used for commercial and the structure is being used for commercial, then the size of the building actually goes down, that you don't need a permit for. It can only be 120 square feet or more, or less, not 200.
But you still need it if you do plumbing and electricity.
Yeah, and here's the thing, if you buy a shed that's let's say it's 200 square feet, and you are gonna put electricity in it, as part of our electrical inspection, we will make you show us the plans so that we can inspect the hold downs anyway, because you can't have utilities hooked up to a shed that's not held to the ground. I mean, that makes common sense, right? I mean, nothing that I'm saying is terrible. So anyway, so just so you know, the building department, to round out what I really wanted to say, because I know that you guys were asking me questions about the Wright House and stuff like, or superintendent's house, whatever it's called. Anyway, we're not out to get anyone. We're not trying to find problems, but if there are problems, we just want to bring you back to the path to compliance. We want to help you get to compliance. We're not there to find the living crap out of you or get you in trouble. We just want everybody to be right. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you one of the other reasons why, and then I'm done. I'm sorry. But one of the things that people also get confused about, and I don't often have an opportunity, hopefully all your citizens are listening, I don't often have an opportunity to say this to a whole group of people. Back in the day, it was really super easy to do additions to your house or to sneak something in because you didn't want to get a permit or whatever. And I mean, I get it. I own property too. I wish I could just do whatever I wanted, just like you do. However, although I'm married to a contractor, so it's easier for me. Anyway, but here's the thing. The age of electronics is completely different than the old days. If you go to sell your house right now and you've scabbed on an addition, a sunroom that you turned into a dwelling or something like that, the first thing that the appraiser is going to do is they're going to call our office or email our office and say, was this addition done with benefit of permits? And if the answer is no, then the lender for the buyer won't loan on that part of your building. And so if your property doesn't appraise high enough, they can't get a loan to cover that. So I'm just saying that, or like if there's an electrical fire and they find out that it was in the part of the house that was added without permits, so there was no electrical permits either. Insurance companies don't cover it. Do you all remember Snowmageddon a few years ago? How many people do you think, oh, that's you, have quote unquote ag buildings that they didn't permit that failed out in the county under that snow load? Millions of dollars worth, actually. And if they didn't have an ag exempt permit through the planning department or through your office, their insurance company didn't cover it. A lot of them didn't cover it. So they were out the money to rebuild those structures all on their own, just because they can check now. They didn't used to be able to check as easily as they can now, but since the early 2000s, it's been electronic. And so now that everybody can check, they do. And so it just behooves you to do it right the first time, and we want to be your partner in doing that. Okay, what else? I went off on another speech.
Okay.
Yes.
You mentioned the White House. So what happens is we adopted a motion to red tag it. We didn't want people in there. People have been in there. You went and met with Mr. Young, I think, didn't you?
I did.
And so what's the status right now? Because they decorated it.
I saw that. So I was pretty clear, and I know you guys aren't gonna wanna hear this. I told you that the only tag I could put on it was a stop work. Because I can't red tag it as do not enter unless I know for sure it's imminently dangerous, about to fall, da da da. In building codes, I'm not allowed to red tag it with a do not enter. But I told you, you could as the owner. You could put a sign on there that says do not enter, no trespassing, whatever. However, you were very clear that you wanted no one in there. I reiterated that you shouldn't have anyone in here until we get this fully inspected, permitted, and corrected. And so I don't know.
Well, okay, it's not your bailiwick. It's ours, and we need to address that at some point.
I mean, tomorrow's Wednesday, so the stop work order will get hung tomorrow by my inspector. I mean, that will go on there, and it will say stop work, but John already knows that I gave him a verbal stop work, and I told him that if you continue to work in here, this is when I will have to do fines, because we've identified that there are a whole bunch of issues that we need to get legal. And until you do that, you don't get to carry on. So if he carries on, that would be a problem for him.
And then, have there ever been any permits pulled on the hub?
Okay, the hub up at the fairgrounds?
Yeah.
Okay, so we did an investigation in the building department, I want to say 2016, because they were going to do some structural work. And I know that our building official at the time was Ken Hall, and he met John Young up there, but I don't think they pulled permits. I'd have to look. I don't remember that off the top of my head. I think he told them, I don't think so. Because I think what they told him was that they were just doing cosmetic stuff, and he told them what they should do just to make it safe for their people. Because he told them that, we were told that no one but a couple volunteers would be inside the hub ever. Are they letting people like come in there to eat or anything? Okay.
No.
What?
No,
They have a kitchen, you work in the kitchen.
they just.
They have people working, and they put a new roof on.
A new roof?
You don't? I work with that.
Well, normally a roof would require an inspection, but on a commercial building.
And a permit. Right.
Right, sorry.
This has been real informative.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming up.
Yeah, no problem. And like I said, anytime anybody has a question, if you don't know whether you need a permit or not, just call my office. We're never gonna tell you you need a permit if you don't, because we are 1,000% more busy than we should be. And so we don't need any more work.
Charlie's got a question.
Okay.
To clarify,
Mhm.
one of your little hickory sheds, under 200 square feet,
Mhm.
we're gonna put water and plumbing in it. It's on a commercial lot, we're gonna turn it into a commercial building. Homeowner can't do it, it has to go through commercial license contractor.
Correct. For electrical and plumbing, if it's a commercial building, it would have to be done by an electrician and a plumber. The property owner can't do on a commercial property. Thank you for clarifying that. God, you're good. Anyway, we can't, the property owner can't do his own electrical or plumbing on a commercial property. They can build the shed. They could build, structurally build the shed, and they could install a heating or vent system on their own with permits and inspections and stuff. But the electrical and plumbing is the only thing that the building codes division gets in the weeds about with regard to commercial and licensing. That's it.
Marshall?
Well, how about like HVAC, if you put in, one of those little wall heaters?
Yeah, this is a really, well, it's the power part of it.
Okay, that's electrical.
Electrical,
Yeah,
right.
The specialty electrical, there's no exemption.
Regular electrical, if you're running wire of some kind, yeah, it needs an electrician on a commercial property.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Dawn.
You're
Very
welcome.
much. Very good.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on. Lot line adjustments, Mr. Patterson. So we have two of them here. He's making. He's got one that's just making it into one big lot.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah, okay.
And then the other one, he's just evening up the lots. Giving a little more to the other lot. So any discussion on these?
I don't see a problem. I'm not even sure he needs a lot line adjustment, but I have no problem.
Do I have a
I
motion?
make a motion that we pass John Patterson's 2 applications for lot line adjustment.
Okay, for a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
I'm gonna abstain.
Abstain, okay. So, Martin abstains. Okay. And on to old business. Employee handbook. The part that needs to be finished, we had suggested during our workshop of doing the step increase. I haven't had time to do it. We need to come up with some suggestions and then meet on the handbook and get it finished, as July 1's coming up. Marsha, do you have time to rough draft up a proposal on that for the handbook?
Oh, I need the line.
I knew you would.
Step increase, and you're gonna do the COLAs too.
Yeah, at the same time. And then just bring it, and then we can have a workshop and get that done.
Did you talk to Rob? He didn't get back to you?
Well, he talked to me about the COLAs, that's all. And he said to put the verbiage not less than 2%. That leaves us to decide, we can set it however we want. So if you would do that, and then we'll set a workshop later on that.
Okay.
And then tree trimming, we have things on here. What are these, the willows or something, Charlie? Okay. Is this along the road?
Yeah, that's actually.
It's the pine trees on the one that we need to remove so that we put a culvert in there, so it doesn't tear up for us. Is that what that pine tree is?
I thought the pine tree was up by Blue Parcel.
That's the one, yeah, it's, you can't put a culvert or do anything with that pine tree, you can't dig a ditch for the water. There's pine trees in the middle.
Okay, so they're gonna remove a tree and trim all the willows up.
Are we gonna, or do you know? Are we gonna run that culvert to full length, or are we gonna take it and cut across the road?
It's not, you probably put a culvert where their driveway is, but then it's just a ditch, is when.
Because that's, It doesn't flood out the house this way, however, it does still flood out the garage.
It floods out the garage. So, but yeah, but the water's running down and it just cuts across and goes down, so I'm sure you're gonna put,
So
and they
we'll have
offer
to-
to buy their own culvert, we just have to put it in.
Okay.
And then just dig a ditch to the rest of the way.
Okay, so comments on Tony's proposal?
It's cheaper than just trimming 2 of my trees.
No, it's about the same price we had about 4 years ago.
Why is there a 17% range here? 1,500 to
It's
1,800. And what's he gonna do? Is he gonna remove stumps, grind them out, or?
The pine tree, he should pull the whole thing out. The whole thing should come out,
Or has.
yeah. So, yeah, he'll have to remove, and I think it's.
And they chip it and haul it away.
Okay, but why is there,
The-
why is it 1,800 or 1,500 or
With
1,675?
mine, he had a range just because he didn't know how much labor intensive it would be once he got into trying to remove the tree. I don't know. So do we want to have him give us a solid?
It's hardly worth the effort for that amount of money, but it just, I wonder why somebody who's a professional can't give us a price.
The only thing that I heard, Martin, was whether or not we get to dump the chips in the burn pile, or if he's gonna have to haul them off. That was the only description that I heard.
So what's he gonna do?
Because if he has to haul them off, then it's gonna cost him.
We used the chips before for filler down at the park.
Yeah, they're dumping the chips.
Yeah,
in
they're
the park.
dumping the chips down by the
Yeah.
LZ zone
Yeah.
or whatever.
Landing zone.
Yeah.
So-
We used them before, we used our chips for stuff at the park.
You're dumping up at the park?
No, at the helicopter landing zone.
Oh,
That's
okay.
probably not a good thing, but I stopped and asked them and he said that they're bringing trees from in town or out there somewhere and Tim told me could, but I mean, we should be charging them for dumping that, because what are we gonna do with them now? Now we
Well,
have a problem.
they got permission before because they put them down in the low part of the park. I thought that's where they were dumping them. So
Well,
we'll have to
last
talk,
year, I think they dumped over here.
we'll have to talk to them, because some people wanted the chips.
Yeah, don't let them charge you though, you're doing them a favor.
Yeah, I mean, he's not gonna haul that shit to the dump, which is
Um,
2 guys for 2 hours.
So do we want to get more information from him? Or are we going to approve him to get this done? And, because he'll ask us what we want to do about the chips. Let's see, always comes in here
The
and
biggest
asks.
thing is, those that can't go over 1,800.
We haven't accepted this yet.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm saying, I'm asking, what
As
do we
of right
want to do
now,
about this?
as of right now, between the 15 and the 18, you're looking at $1,800
Max.
maximum. And they're taking out, they're gonna trim those willows way back supposedly, and they're gonna take out one, that's a pretty good sized tree that they're gonna take out.
Well, we don't want them dumping up at the fairgrounds.
Tell him that.
So
So maybe-
this price is gonna have to include him dumping himself. Not dumping them.
Hauling
here in the
them
city.
off, I guess.
Hauling them off,
Yeah.
and taking care of it himself.
So I guess we need to see if he's agreeable to that.
Yeah, 'cause
Who
the
talked to,
only-
who talked to him? I mean, Charlie, or just Tim talked to him? Or-
Yeah, I think Tim and Jeff talked to him. I haven't met with him yet, but the thing is he's got that check mark and it says chip or brush and leave firewood.
We,
The pine tree's pretty big.
He doesn't have stump removal on here either.
No, and that's separate. You told me on ours that it was gonna be separate. So we need more.
I thought
So
we needed
maybe
the
we
stump
should-
out of there.
okay, what we need is an RFP that says we need A, B, C, D, and E, so that we know, so that we don't get a surprise that, oh, that was extra.
So we'll get a hold of him. Okay, so this will be tabled till we get more info. Okay, I have a couple things before we go to public comment. You guys asked me at the last meeting to disconnect the phone, it was disconnected. It was disconnected.
Oh, more.
So it was a process to get it done, but it was done. And then, Kerry Clark could not be here as the fire chief, and he asked that I let everybody know that if you have, or Kurt, if you have a fire or see a fire, call 911. Don't call those guys on their cell phone. Call 911, and then all 10 of them get notified. Because otherwise, they may not answer the phone, and so we want to stress that if there is an emergency for us, the citizens, to call 911, not use their cell phone. And then he wanted input from us in that, since, well, like the holidays coming up, a lot of people have their friends coming in with their travel trailers. His question was for council, if one of these trailers caught on fire and is sitting next to a structure, like somebody's home, what is our input? Do fire department take care of the structure and protect the structure first, or worry about the travel trailer?
Which poses the greater risk of spreading
Yeah.
to the neighbors. If you've got a trailer, someone living in a trailer on your property, and it catches fire, I guess it's your problem if your house burns. If my house is next door, it's my problem. I want them to put out the one that
The structure.
at least jeopardizes my house.
Right. Well, that's what we were, that's what he wanted to know. He just wanted to be sure that, he had some direction.
I think the thing to say is whatever it takes to contain the fire, whether it's structural, whether it's trees, whatever. Because more likely, if you have a trailer fire, before they even get there, the trailer's gonna be burned down anyways. So it's gonna be, I'm not gonna say it's the house you need to protect, or if it's the woods you need to protect, but
Best contained.
you need to contain the fire.
Marcia, any comment? No. He just wants some input from us, so I'll pass this on to him.
And then also, Kurt also asked me if we could take our reader board and put it out.
It's okay.
Digital.
Yep, it's okay.
So make sure that we eliminate fireworks over here again.
Okay, I have one other thing for you guys to consider. A couple days ago, we have one of these prefab homes moved in on property with no notice to the city or anything.
In a shed.
In a shed, prefab shed. And, we need to start addressing this. I think it's the second one that's been put down there, this down at Lowe's. He put that huge one down there, and he gave us no input, no nothing.
There's been no permits on either one.
Yeah, no permit, no permit, nothing, no paperwork in the city saying that, this is where he's putting it, like we all do, we're gonna put something here, here's the measurements.
Do we have a penalty for not being nice to people and getting permits?
We have no enforcement.
Well, this is actually, we don't, but that is being worked on because it has been pages discussed that we need to start setting up penalties for some of this.
It's a nuisance though, isn't it?
Well,
A violation of law by state law is a nuisance.
okay,
So I move that we give him a notice that one, he's not to enter those things or do anything with them. And that he is to obtain, apply for, and prosecute permits within, let's say, 2 days from today. Otherwise, it will be complained of as a nuisance under the nuisance ordinance that we adopted. How's that?
well, how about 2 days from when we get the letter done, because we'll have to do the letter tomorrow.
Well, yeah, okay.
I mean, really, if I give them a time frame. Well, we need to do something because it's continual.
It is.
You need to send send the letter out certified.
Okay, and certified letter.
So they're both ways. Some people don't pick them up and then say, I never got it.
Okay. So why don't we'll do a letter and we'll send it out to us tomorrow before we send, so everybody can see and make sure our verbiage is right and it's what we want. Is that okay?
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and post it a week before that, if you adopt my motion.
Post the letter.
No, post is sheds, do not enter,
Okay.
don't do anything.
Yeah, well, somebody have to go down and talk to them.
And while we're at it, we should post the superintendent's house, because obviously noses have been thumbed at us.
I had a discussion last night yes, about that.
So are we gonna do it?
Talk to,
Are we gonna post in there, do not enter,
okay,
stay
so
off?
what do we post? What kind of, do we have tags and things?
You can put a sign in, don't we have a laminator?
Yeah.
She has things you can check off on that one, doesn't she?
Oh, this is on the water service. But maybe you could use the backside and write something. So you want us to post, go down there and post that he's not to enter until he gets his permits, and we're gonna send him a letter as the same.
And no one is to enter, or to be on the property.
Get the key.
Well, we're talking about Bose and the Wright House, correct?
We're talking about both of them. You
Yeah.
stay off the property. Now, Bose, he's got a bunch of stuff there that's legal and soon permitted.
Yeah.
So,
He's got 2 buildings.
well, yeah, I mean, we can't keep them off those.
No,
But when you say do not enter this building, for John's, I think we ought to say you stay off the property.
Yeah, maybe we need to call Dawn in the morning because the inspector's coming up tomorrow to post that one. Stop work and they can probably post that one too.
Well, no, they don't do that, remember, unless it's an imminent danger of killing someone.
No, that's
Stop
not,
work.
that's do not enter. She's not doing that.
They're
But they're
doing
putting the
stop.
stop work on.
Right, but we want the do not enter. He represented, they haven't been upstairs, there's stuff stored upstairs.
that's the Wright House. Wright House is not in
Yeah, because the thing is with, if you look at what Bo's doing, then that's going to probably be a commercial building too.
it.
It is, but John should stay off the property. The land, the building, just stay off until he does it right.
So let's start.
So
let's
I'll
do
second Martin's motion.
Can,
On the, no, they just separated.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was,
Yeah, we're gonna.
there was a whole
separate.
discussion
Yeah,
with the
okay.
I didn't catch
Yeah, the
the
White
complete
House,
motion.
the White House, we want, they do not enter, period,
Stay off
okay.
and do not enter. By authority of the city council.
We're going to have, okay. Okay, that's Martin's motion.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Now you want another one?
Well, yeah, well, now we need to do with Bo, because Bo's down there, you know, I'm sure he's planning on using that for the flea market and everything else, so.
Tough.
Tough, okay, so we're going to send him a certified letter telling him not to enter or do anything with that building until he obtains the proper permits.
Yeah, not to enter or use
Enter
or do anything to it without obtaining proper permits and inspections. Or it will be declared a nuisance.
Okay. That's gonna be okay. Does anybody want to second that as a motion?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so. I'll see if maybe they can do something. Okay, did you guys have anything else you want to bring up?
I have a question.
Okay.
All these other streets that got dust on, who made those decisions?
I think we had decided that if we had enough money, we could do the others. It's, years ago, when we got the pot money, we said we would dust abate for the benefit of the citizens, and with all the ATV travel, that's why it was, we did a few more.
Okay, but somebody decided which ones did and which ones
Well,
didn't.
it was the heavy, it was the ATV trail, they. you know, down by-
It's the ones that connected to trails, along with Two Martin. Like down here on Granite, like last year, Mike Merritt, he paid for that section from the intersection of, I think it's Center Street to the highway. He paid for that. I believe he's doing the same thing this year. Opals, they paid right here on Columbia. They used to pay for it. We got Doug over here behind the store. He paid for section 2. But it just looks like the city just did it all.
Dan Ballard and Christie, they paid for that.
We paid for our alley.
And they, yeah, so they'll pay for it, yeah, they're paying for it, that's
Okay.
right.
All right, I just wondered.
A lot of private stuff.
Okay, any other, okay, before I open this up?
If council will indulge me for a minute, I have 2 motions that I would like to bring up. The city needs to move on. Greg has been gone too long. And I would like to, and according to the charter, he can be removed now, and I'd like to make a motion to remove Greg as mayor.
That's the question. You know, the election is coming shortly.
Yes,
He basically is a non-entity as far as this council is concerned. Well, wait and let people run for it, because otherwise, we'll be called upon to fill that. And that might give an unfair advantage to someone to run as an incumbent. So that's just my
I
thought.
find with, I don't really have any,
Well, I will drop them,
okay,
and that eliminates the second motion.
oh, okay.
So I'm done.
Oh, you're gonna have a shot too.
Okay, so there's nothing else for you guys, public comment?
I just wanna know. On Cracker Street, okay, not you, Marty. That's guys getting water out of that, what's the difference between a yellow hydrant and the red one across the street?
The red one across the street is treated water.
Okay.
city Water.
Okay,
The yellow hydrant is coming from a goat.
okay,
It's not treated.
I'm not trying to get anyone in trouble here. But I went out there and talked to them guys the other day to learn about rock crushing, okay? They're pumping water out of the pond for that crusher. This water is going in their trailers, so we hook up to the red one so we don't get sued for what you learned in your counselor thing about putting it in a different container, i.e. water truck, and he runs it out there and fills it in their campers. Because he said, Jesus, where are you guys giving us this water? Is it out of a pond or something? No, it's out of, well, probably out of Macaulay Fork Creek.
That's where it's at.
Yeah,
And the thing is they know.
they was.
It's not potable water.
I know, but they're putting it in their campers and they're showering with it. And wondering why the water smells shitty.
That's why.
I know, so can the guy hook up across the street? Are we still, how's our tanks? That's what I'm getting. I don't wanna get another lawsuit going here.
Well, the biggest thing is though, I don't see where the city can be sued for something that they come to the city and ask to use water for the job, not potable water for the trailers. They did not ask for potable water. The reason why they're not pulling out of the cistern out of Cracker, and the reason why they're not pulling out of the pond down there is because their water truck, they don't want to get it contaminated with sands and dirt, because when they use that water truck to run their paver, they don't want to plug up their nozzles.
Mhm.
So that's the reason why they're using the water that we've got. Because I told them, I says, this is coming out of a creek, but it does go across the filter. So, but I said, it's not potable water. I said, this is creek water, 100%.
Yeah,
And I told him, I said, because I said, it's really interesting when you drive up there and the bear's taking it back. Because he's been in that water hole up there. But John, as far as I know, other than what you said, but other than that, it's
So should we change something?
I don't want,
Just, you know what I mean? You know, who knows what you can get with that stuff, you get in your eyes or whatever. I mean, I grew up swimming in creeks, it didn't kill me, but
well,
nowadays everybody dies from a sniffle.
but as I said before, though, it would be a construction outfit that's using river water, creek water, and they're using it to drain. I'm not saying you can, and I'm not saying you can't, that's their deal, but they asked to use water for the project. This would be on the company's part for misappropriation of what they're doing with it.
Okay, why not just send them a letter saying, do not allow your employees to use this for potable water purposes. Please acknowledge that you will warn them, have them sign it, send it back. Then I think the employee is gonna have a tough time saying, if he signed that, saying, I understand.
You know, who's that? You know, you have the information on that group?
You know, we'll send it to,
Okay, well, we'll get that later. Okay. Any other public comment? Anything from you guys?
I move we adjourn.
I'll say.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, what time is it?
What?
That's great.